All right, hello everyone, and welcome to our International Women's Month panel. This is a concept art association event. The concept art association focuses on elevating the profiles of concept artists within the entertainment industry. And Rachel, do you want to tell us about tonight and who we have?
Of course, yeah. So tonight we have a wonderful team of ladies, women, who are all currently working at Marvel Studios. So who wants to kick us off to kind of tell us a little bit about their journey as an artist? Or actually, let's just start with Jana. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Who are you? Like,
Hi.
You're at Marvel, but what about you?
Yeah, hi, I'm Jana. Yeah, I came from Germany originally, and I'm a self-taught artist. I wish I had like the opportunity of all these amazing schools you guys have here in the US, but I just had the internet and always loved to draw and paint, and yeah, and that's got me where I'm at right now. I guess I always, always love to paint, just do whatever. I like to draw, and then someday I was like, oh my God, I see there's people who are making money out of this. I want to do this too, and that's how it started, I guess. Yeah.
Awesome. Who wants to go next, Karla?
Yeah. So hi everybody. My name's Carla Ortiz. I'm from the little tiny island of Puerto Rico. I was born on Halloween. So I don't know if that means anything. And I've always been drawing and painting ever since I can remember. I knew from a very early age. I would actually tell my mom, "I'm gonna work for Disney." I just thought animation. I didn't know how prophetic, like that was a prophecy. But yeah, I went to a really crappy college. Sorry, and got into debt. But then later on, made a trip and went to a more, fine art oriented atelier called the Safe House Atelier. That's where I learned all about, painting and drawing and cast and doing observations at the same time working on, concept work. Shortly thereafter, I ended up at NCSoft and worked at Kabam, then ended up at ILM and, finally Marvel, later HBO, Universal Studios, Warner Brothers, and so on. But yeah, no, it's been really, 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 really fun, and I'm most notably like known for the Marvel stuff, for Doctor Strange, where I got to stare at Benedict Cumberbatch's face for about a whole year straight. It was fun. Um, and yeah, I have a cat. She's awesome. And I play video games, playing the heck out of Yakuza right now. It's really great. Anyway, yeah.
Awesome. Who wants to go next? I'm looking at Amelia. Hi, Amelia. Tell us
Hi,
about.
everybody. Okay, I am Amelia Vidal. I am working in the animated series What If in Marvel Studios. I'm from Argentina. I guess I drew since always. My parents met each other in art school, so I always been surrounded with art stuff in my house. So I was very encouraged to draw. But I ended up studying TV production and direction, nothing to do with art. But later I started to work in animation studios here in Argentina. And there in my second job, I started to work in pre-production department as an assistant. And there I learned to make layouts, character design, storyboards, and I worked there like 12 years. And after that, I started to work in studios overseas, like in video games, DreamWorks, Powerhouse. I did a lot of comic book covers for Boom Studios, for Power Rangers. And a couple of years ago, they called me from Marvel. they say we are starting to do an animated series. You want to work with us? And I said, yes, of course. I'm such a fan. And here I am, sharing the panel with you also, Martin. So super happy.
That's amazing. I love how everyone that works there is a fan. Everyone's just
Yeah.
like, everyone's just like nerding out about all the things. Imogene, how about you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Oh, okay. Hi, I'm Imogene Chayes, and I've been with Marvel for about a year, as of like a week or so ago, actually. And since I've been there, I've worked on Hawkeye and She-Hulk. And I've actually came from the world of costume and fashion. I went to FITM for college, the Fashion Institute of Design and Merchandising, getting a degree in fashion and costume design because I actually originally thought that I wanted to be a costume designer. But after taking the one fashion illustration and Photoshop class they had in the program, I decided I wanted to move forward with illustration. And that, to me, that meant being a costume illustrator. So after I graduated, I won the Television Academy Arts and Sciences internship competition, and that placed me on True Blood as an intern. And from there, I got into the union as a costume illustrator. You know, I was really young. It was probably too soon for me to get in there, but I got lucky with some jobs and sort of had a roller coaster, topsy-turvy journey with some detours until about 3 or 4 years ago when I got a job on the movie The Meg in New Zealand. I lived in New Zealand for a year, and everything sort of went from there. And yeah, a couple of years later, I got the offer from Marvel, and that's where we are today.
Awesome. Thank you. Naomi, hi, tell us about.
Sure. Hi. Yeah. Hey, my name is Naomi Baker. Where to start? I started in video games. I've always loved all type of RPGs, fighting games, dancing games, huge arcade nerd. And I went into college and just took some art classes. And I gravitated heavily towards life drawing, and that combined with video games, I don't know, it was all really cool. Street Fighter, Final Fantasy, all that fun stuff. And then I moved to the West Coast, started working at Activision a couple years. Where did I go from there? Basically, yeah, video games. I worked in mobile a little bit, and then ArenaNet on Guild Wars 2 for several years. After that, Sucker Punch. I worked on Ghost of Tsushima, and then from there went to Netflix for a very short stint, and then now I'm here at Marvel. So basically, over a decade in video games, and this is about my, I think, 5th month with you guys. So yeah.
And last but not least, Mushk. Hi.
Hi, my name is Mushk. I'm from Pakistan. I actually was not an artist and nothing to do with art, but I was super obsessed with video games, and that's where I spent most of my time. Yeah, basically I didn't know too much about art or anything or how video games work, but when I play it, I thought that I always see the visuals, so I think that's how video games are made. Somebody maybe just draws it and that's what it is. So my cousin was here studying, and she said that she would be working in animation or video games, and that's where I was talking to my parents and telling them that, hey, I got to do this, I got to work in video games. And basically that what led me here to the US and to go to college. And yeah, basically when I started doing art, I realized that, holy shit, what the heck is this hard thing? I've done everything. I've tried, I was doing engineering, and I was really good at it. So it was just what is this difficult thing? I can't do this. And so many point, I thought I have to stop, I can't do this. And while I was at the end of school, I started working at Kabam, and the person who used to sit right across me, he was an engineer. And I was like, wait, like, what do engineers do in games? And he's like, well, you know, you could do like this. And I was like, holy shit, like what? Like I could have actually just done my engineering and not be an artist. But by that time, like I feel like I have sacrificed so much, and like my parents were already here. It was like, okay, there's no going back. Like I need to go forward with this. And that was basically the start of my journey into art. And it was in video games first, and then I think with Marvel, I've been here for a year, same as Imogene. And yeah, it's a place that I never thought I would be, because like when I left school, and you know, you go to the spring show and you see all these like cool artists, and there's like this one art, I think Ryan Lang, I saw his work in the spring show, and I was like, and I think by that time he was maybe at Disney already. And in my mind I was like, I can never work in these places, so whatever, I'm just gonna give up. And then when I got like the thing from Marvel, I was like, wait, what? And basically, I was talking to Jana, and I was just like, wait, is this real? Like, is this real? But yeah, it's like it's been real, and it's super fun. And I'm happy to be here.
I love that. I love stories like that where, you know, somebody crosses your path in that way and then you end up working with them later. So we talked a lot, you said that like video games inspired you and comics inspired you and Ryan Lang. And Amelia, do you have any other sources of inspiration? Like whenever you're stuck on specific art, like is there a kind of a go-to place you look for inspiration?
I think what inspired me is to see art that transmits emotion to me. For me, that was always animation. Like I remember like crying watching Sailor Moon or Robotech, or I don't know, I did not cry like watching Infinity War, or I don't know. For me, always was like animation or movie. And I think that what I always wanted to do is like work in projects that where I can later watch an episode of something or like a TV show, and to make people get excited like I was when I was little, something that moves me. And that happens to me also when I see like incredible illustrations on the internet. I try not to see too much, because you get to copy them, and I don't want that. But it is always inspiring. But on a day-to-day basis of work, I can't expect that inspiration hit me. So I have to get inspired for the character I have to design. So I try to see the animatic, I imagine the personality that the character has, what attitude he has, and what he should look like. And then I start to design. I try to like transmit all that information to the 3D modeler, and so try to capture the essence of the character and like transmit that inspiration to another person that have to continue that character. Because I don't think like inspiration like something magical that comes and you have to design every day. You can expect that. So you have to be organized and okay, I got it to get inspired in 10 minutes. So it's kind of like that.
Sure.
Yeah.
Anybody else want to hop on where they find some inspiration from?
It's kind of similar for me too in some ways. And by the way, I'm sorry, I was fidgeting a little bit and I accidentally dropped my chair and went broop in the middle of this. I was like, oh, maybe no one saw, but I'm like, there's a camera. Anyway, I get so inspired by, when I was younger, I was just like, oh, I need to paint all the time. Like, it's the only way I will learn. I need to go, 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 go. And then I realized that I wasn't nearly as motivated to do any work anymore. I just was just like, I'm like kind of exhausted. And then I started playing video games, reading books, making time for myself. And that actually gave me so much inspiration. Like, I remember there was a time where I was like, screw it, I'm just gonna go read some manga, and I read some Berserk, and I was like, this is amazing. Now I just want to keep on painting, and I just painted like all my work, just like listening to the music and just be like, this is awesome. And the same way like would be if I were to play a video game, like that really, really speaks to me. Like throughout the pandemic, the only reason I got any creative work done was because I was playing Final Fantasy Remake. And it was just, it inspired me because you're able to engage with like different forms of media that like many artists work together on, and it's just it's a fantastic source of inspiration. Before the pandemic, also just friends, life, going outside. That was also quite nice. Anyway.
Absolutely. Imogene, Jana, do either of you have any different places or books or anything you're going to go look for?
I mean, it's interesting what Amelia said about that for work, it doesn't really matter too much to get inspiration, because you often have a certain assignment and you just look for references, and this kind of stuff then inspires me if I see something cool for that specific assignment, right? But when it comes to personal work, I think inspiration can hit anywhere, like it could be just something, you see like, oh, the light hits this face in a really awesome way and the colors look awesome, and this kind of stuff can inspire you. So it can be anywhere. I feel like it definitely helps to have like a folder somewhere on your computer where you just save everything you come across that might eventually inspire you. I think this turned out to be really useful. If you don't know what to draw or paint, you can always go to that specific place where you just keep ideas and inspiration. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with Jana. I have to have a folder or a Pinterest board or something just to go back to anytime I'm stuck. And before I was at Marvel, I would work with costume designers, and they usually provided the inspiration for you or the directions. A lot of the times it's from fashion, and because I came from the fashion and costume world, I sort of stuck with that. Like I will pick up a designer and go through all of their collections, their couture collections for the last 10 years and see like how, they're changing and how they're, interpreting trends and whatnot. And yeah, you get sucked down a rabbit hole for sure with that.
Who's one of your favorite designers?
Ooh, I just was one who I can't pronounce the name, like Zuhair Murad. He's a gown designer, does spectacular gowns because I had to do a big gala dress recently, and yeah, he has some spectacular dresses.
I like Guaupé, I think is her name. I might be mistaking it. Guaupé or something like that. And then there's the other guy that like it's a lady, Iris Van something.
Oh,
Yeah. Where it's like crazy textural, like amazing stuff, and it's like, yeah, this is awesome stuff.
I know it is awesome. It's crazy.
I guess like with that, like sometimes like if you're obviously looking at other artists' work, that can inspire you, and maybe you end up having a mentor relationship with them. Karla, how important has mentorship been to you in your career?
Okay. So the way that I would describe it is extremely important for me. When I started in the industry, I thought it was a specific way that was actually kind of, not too positive. Like I saw some of the, I wouldn't necessarily say the worst of it, but it felt a little bit more cutthroat. Like, and I was just starting out. That was just my impression as a student. But throughout my career, I got the chance to meet Ian McKegg in a workshop that had happened in Seattle. And when we met, like it just kind of like I showed him my work, and at the time I was working, for Magic the Gathering. He's just like, "You're hired." I'm like, "Hired where?" He's like, "I don't know, but you're hired." I'm like, "Okay, that works." Um, And, you know, I kept in touch with him. You know, he asked me all the things that I wanted to do with my life. I'm like, okay, cool, and keep in touch. And about 6 months after I sent him my current work, and he's like, hey, you live in San Francisco. I live in San Francisco. Maybe like, you know, what's up? And I'm like, oh, I know coffee places. And he's like, great, meet me at ILM. And before I knew it, I thought I was going to just meet Ian and be like, hey, what's up? And it ended up being an interview. But the thing about Ian, you know, as a mentor, the thing that really changed my perspective in life was one, how to, you know, model yourself after. He treats everybody with kindness, doesn't matter who it is. And when I saw that, I'm like, ooh, that's right, that's what I want to do, that's what I want to, you know, see in someone who is a voice in this space, you know, to treat students, newcomers, you know, Jana, it doesn't matter, with like respect and love. And then the other one was just, he believed in me, and he always helped me out with make the right decisions. And I think people don't necessarily need a specific mentor in the industry. I think what people more so than anything need is someone to believe in them. Because I've talked to students who are like, my family doesn't know what I'm doing, I don't know what I'm doing, and I'm just like, no, like, okay, it's okay, you got this, here's what you can do. And, you know, reach out to the people that do believe in you. And later on, they come back and they're like, yeah, I got a job and I didn't realize how important that is, because it is. Like, it can change your whole perspective. And so I always tell people, like, it doesn't, you know, if it's an industry professional that you mesh with, because there has to be kind of like a, oh, we mesh, or we actually could be just friends. It's not really about what you can get back. You know, it's not a transactional relationship. It's more of like a friendship that helps you grow. If you can't quite find that yet in your life, and you might find it in your peers too, I think it's more so important to find people that just believe with you in you, whether that's family, and if family doesn't, it could be friends, it could be people that are in the space. So yeah, I think it's pivotal. And also, for that matter, to reach out to professionals in the industry wherever you can. You know, I think most people are happy if they're not, you know, swamped in work and can barely breathe. Most people are happy to share, you know, their thoughts, and listen to their interviews too, because you know, a lot of the questions that people have, you know, like, how do I do this? How do I do that? Sometimes they answer via interviews. But yeah, my own personal one, it really helped out. It really helped me navigate the space a lot better, as a starting artist, particularly money wise. Like, it was just like, this is how you negotiate. I'm like, hey Marvel, can I negotiate this? You know. So yeah, it is helpful, but yeah, I think finding someone to believe in you is the key.
Absolutely. I kind of see mentorship as like this chain of, like, you know, somebody is pulling you up and you're pulling up someone behind you too. And it's just kind of a nice ecosystem. But you're right,
Yeah,
you really touched on it. Like, who else do you talk to about money with? You know, like, you do
yeah.
need that kind of person in your life.
And in full transparency, right now I have like maybe 5 people that I talk back and forth, that I mentor. You know, not, like, it's not something that you apply for, it's just something that happens naturally. Like, one of them, like 2 are Puerto Rican, you know, that I'm just like, they come from my island. One of them comes from my high school, so it's just like, I know like how it feels. Like, the other 3 just hit me up and were like, hey, like, I need help. And it's like, okay, let's see. And you know, so it just happens naturally. It's not something you seek, but yeah, it's like, if you rise, bring people with you too.
Yeah, I can piggyback off that for sure, because I didn't have that when I was coming up at all. I was basically figuring everything out by myself, and I'm learning now the importance of mentorship, because I have a mentee as well, and she's a lovely illustrator. Her name's Jana. I think she's watching, and yeah, she drops in and just asks me questions, and I, you know, try really hard to be as available to her as I can, because I know what it's like to not have that and how to feel really, you know, you can feel really confused and lost, and sort of just throwing balls out there to see what bounces back. But when, you know, you have someone who sort of knows their way around the biz, it's it's great to have someone to talk to like that.
Anybody else have any mentorship stories to chime in on, or?
I think I can. Oh, sorry, go for it.
Yeah, no. I mean, I just you can go first. I
was
just
just
wanted to
gonna-
say.
I was,
You go, Mush. You go.
I was just gonna say, like, it was the same thing as Imogene, because being in the same boat, or what Carla was saying, that how it's like really important. I feel like I was like more like Imogene, where I was like very shy, and also English is not my first language, so I have to think a lot when I have to speak it. So I'm already shy, and that adds to that. Like, I sometimes don't know what to say to people if I do go to workshops and whatnot. So I wasn't able to talk to anyone. Like, I remember I've been following Jana's work actually for a long, long time, even before I was an artist. And I saw her at a workshop at my school, and I was just like, no, I can't talk to her because I don't know what I'm going to say. And like, or I feel like I'm wasting her time. So it's all these feelings that, of course, they are self-imposed, but like, I can't talk to anyone. And at the end, like, you either can't make those connections, or you're unable to find like the mentor, or even like online too. Like, I was so afraid to like message people. So what Carla is saying, that knowing those in and out, and like knowing like you can like contact, like reach out to these people, I think is very important. And if you are someone who's starting out, you should definitely do that. Not be like me.
Can I just jump in here really quick, and then I'll let Jana say something. I just want to tell people, like, artists, like, we're all range in different, levels of shyness and availability and stuff like that. But I think we all kind of like have this like empathetic nature where it's like, oh, like, they're scared, the students are scared. Yeah, sometimes the instructors are scared too. like we're always like my favorite story is like, someone like, for example, Craig Mullins at TSU, like, kids would be like, Craig Mullins, hi, I'm this person. He's like, hi. And then the person would leave. It's like, I don't know why they wanted to talk to me. I didn't have much to offer. And it's just like, that's just how everybody is, I think, in this industry. For the most part, you'll get the occasional, rooster that's like, hello. But I think most of us are just pretty down to earth and chill. So anyway, sorry, Jana.
I don't know. Still have that mindset. Like, wait, what? You want to talk? You want advice from me? Are you sure?
I just wanted to add that I feel like people, whoever's watching, they shouldn't freak out if they can't find a mentor, like, or like message Karla right away because she's doing mentorships. like, like, you don't have to freak out if you can't find somebody who's mentoring you, because I do feel like, especially right now, there's so much information you also can find online, like, I remember when I compare like all this stuff that's on YouTube right now to what I had when I started to learn, this is so much more. And with everything that's available online, especially in a pandemic, it's good to just be able to go online and have your resources there where you can like learn from, so, and even if you just ask a professional just a few questions here and there when you really need guidance, I think, yeah, don't freak out if you can't find a mentor. You will be fine if you just,
In fact, the quick general rule is just don't freak out if your path as to be an artist or be in this industry isn't similar to others. Everybody has a different path, like there's this isn't like a checklist of, hey, okay, now learn this program, get this person to like you, do this. That doesn't work that way. It's very fluid.
Absolutely. Well, and actually with that, Imogene, like, do you feel that being female has impacted your journey within the industry?
Well, I'd imagine so. I've never experienced the alternative, so
Right. We don't really have that luxury. But just in case you aren't aware, it's actually less likely for women to find mentors professionally than men. So hence why I missed my transition there, but that's why this question was next.
Oh, for sure. Well, I mean, women have, I'm sure, all different kinds of experiences in this industry, whether it be positive or negative, or face adversity or whatnot. But I've been very fortunate to have a very good experience in this industry as a female. I think a lot of that has to do with because I come from the costume world where it is predominantly female workers. So there was a whole camaraderie aspect there, as well as sort of a very nurturing and supportive environment, at least in my experience. But the other aspect is that for the majority of my artistic career, I've worked at home by myself. So I've been lucky enough to not have to experience the possible toxicities that others have or may, but I will say that it's not to say that I haven't faced adversity. Like I only really got going in my career about 3 years ago because I quite literally escaped a horrifically abusive marriage. So that was 5 years of struggle and, pretty much having my soul pulverized. And, it was quite amazing once I got out of it, how it made me believe how the universe rewards you, how that was a good decision. Because once I was out, my career kind of snowballed, and all the, everything that culminated in those last 5 years sort of paid off, I guess. And yeah, that's the reason I said that is because if, there are women out there who are experiencing the same thing, like there's always a way out, like you're not trapped.
So glad you got out of that. Like that's
Yeah.
amazing. And I'm glad that you're thriving and extremely successful with that category.
And then another funny story, actually, it has to do with Marvel. I kind of skate under the radar. And when Sam, our coordinator, recommended and showed the team my work, they were like, "Oh wait, who's this guy?" And Sam was like, "Her name is Imogene."
I love Sam. She's pretty great.
Yeah.
She comes from the costume world too, and that's how I know her.
Does anybody else want to talk about being female in the industry? Naomi, Amelia? Amelia, you're a mom too. Like how has that worked with you?
Yeah, I have 2 children. No, I think I always have good experiences working in studios. I was the only woman always in the pre-production department, like always in all my career. So it's super weird to be chatting with all artists that are women because mostly are men in the industry. It's, I don't know, but it's like that. But I think I always came across with like very, I don't know, kind people that are willing to help and always have good experiences. I don't know. I think once, like in all of my career, I came across with this guy that I remember I was doing corrections of layouts of models, and when you draw a layout, you have to check the model, right? The animator works on it, and then they have to take you the shot and see if it's okay, the model and all that. And it was not okay, so I said, I have to do a correction of this. And he said, like, no woman are going to touch my drawing. And I said, oh my God, this is insane. And I have a big discussion with this guy. And we came to like a point that he doesn't want me to touch his drawings because I was younger and I was a female. So I talked with the director and I said, look, I can't do my job with this guy. He won't let me. What should I do? And he was very supportive and he said, like, you do what you have to do. This thing it's wrong. You have to make a correction, do it. And everything turned out okay because he was very supportive. But besides that, I think I always have good experiences. Yeah.
Screw that guy.
Yeah, seriously.
I'm here talking with you, and
I just got to say though, it's funny because I feel like as women sometimes we default to be like, no, I don't think I've really had any bad experience except this like one time, and then there was this other, you know, like make we make excuses that this is not our this is not this is okay because it only happened this one time. But then when you start thinking about it, it's never really just that one time or whatever. And it's so funny that even now when you kind of have that direct question to you, like amongst other women in the industry, safe space, whatever, I saw the internet, but you know, fairly safe space, right? That even now you're like, oh, no, it's totally fine. So I'm glad, thank you.
The important thing is like not accept that situation. I won't let this pass, and I'm going to do something about it. But I think I got lucky because I'm working in this like, I don't know, 15, 18 years now. And it was that time, like only time. So pretty good.
But going back to Rachel, what you were saying, I think it's also because like when I was working at this one place and I've had like this bad experience. So I did the same thing what you're saying, like stood up and actually said that no, this is wrong. And I ended up quitting that place. But what happened after that was like I was told by a lot of people, which were not only men, but also a lot of women telling me that like you didn't do the right thing because this is so early in your career. Even though if you're being treated bad, you should have just stick it out. And even though like however you're being treated, like this is going to impact your career and you did the wrong thing. Or even like this other female coworker who worked at the same place, she told me that I was very egotistical for standing up for myself and quitting, even though like the person who was like that person was literally just uh, filing like the wrong complaint against me, putting like all these blames on me. And like for me as a person, like I got out of school then, so I couldn't stand up for that. I quit after that, but I was told all these things.
That's also screw that guy. It's one of those things where it's like how can I say it, like it can get tricky. Like I think it can be really tricky, and I think there's a couple aspects. Like one, like you will at some point, you know, especially if you work on a team, at some point in your career, even if it's just once, you will encounter it. You will encounter, you know, bits of misogyny, bits of people doing the wrong thing, and I just necessarily don't think that has anything to do with the art industry, because out of all the industries, it's still a beautiful, wonderful thing. But I think it's just a problematic of society as a whole, and the issues that exist in society will still exist within your own particular industries. Me personally, I've dealt with, you know, I've had, you know, dudes kind of like go over, you know, to slight sexual harassment space, but I'm very like sparky. Like if it's just like you touch me, I'm like yeah, and I'm like no. So nip that in the butt real quick. But what I have encountered a lot more than that has just been like either completely ridiculous statements of what women can or cannot do. Like, for example, I was the first woman in ILM in the concept design department since like Terrell Whitlatch, which is like those movies happened like 10 years ago. And so when I went in, everybody was like, what is this? And I was just like having to come in, like, calm down, guys, calm down. Still human. We're cool. We're chill. But I
It's
would
a good
get,
job that you're like super shy and retiring and not at all like intimidating, right? It's probably a nice, easy transition for a woman in
yeah,
the department.
very, very, very simple transition. It's not scary at all. Like, this only like some of the greatest artists there. You're just like,
No,
God.
I'm talking about you.
Me? Oh, no, no, stop. Uh, uh, anyway, so, but I've had moments where it's like I was drawing a mech and this like artist is just like, wow, I didn't know women drew mech. And I looked at him and he looked at me like, and I'm like, did you just hear yourself there? And he's like, yeah, like if you ever draw like a cat or anything normal, I'm like, oh, I didn't know men could draw cats. Ugh, that's not a man's job, you know? He's just like, oh, that was dumb. I'm like, yeah. And I think sometimes it's about combating it with humor, like 'cause you will need to have like a thick skin for certain things. Um, Sometimes but when certain lines are crossed, it is important to stand up for yourself and, to, either go to your director and be like, nah, I can't work with him, either like quit the place completely, because no, you're not crazy, or either leave like that abuse, relationship, with its work or personal, because yeah, it's just not worth it. And yeah. And oh, so lastly, I think women, at least for me, I used to have a really hard time talking about these issues, mostly on a sense of pride. Like, I want to just exist as a professional. I want to just exist as a human. I don't like there's this idea where it's like when you speak about these issues that they'll like people will think, oh, like look at this poor person. I can't believe this happened. And you're like, no, I don't like want to be this experience. I want to be so much more than that. And I think that can be one of the fears that can attribute to conversations like that, or at least in my opinion. I don't know.
Absolutely. Nobody wants to be seen as a victim,
Yeah.
like, and then the other side of that is, we accept what we think we deserve. So it's making sure that you yourself are happy. So you're able to set those boundaries. Onto a happier subject. Naomi, what's been your favorite part of working at Marvel?
Obviously, no spoilers.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Without saying, because obviously, I think sometimes you're so entrenched in the world that you forget what the outside world does or does not know.
Hint, hint. Yeah, I gotcha.
Yeah, I know we're all professionals, but I just wanted to quickly throw that in there
because Ryan's in the
Of
corner
course.
watching.
It's just like,
Okay, no pressure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's been great? You're like, yeah.
So this is my first foray into film, and there are many differences from this in games. Let's see. One of the first things that stood out to me, which Jana, I had a conversation with her before I jumped on. I'm never bored. There's always something to do. I don't know if she said this, but don't expect just expect to be fulfilled by all the work and all the tasks that you'll have. And that is certainly true. There's also been, with all the different tasks, there's the challenges of, can't say anything. So if you're doing one thing one day, you could do something totally different the next day. And at first it's like, wow, how do what resources can I get together quickly to change gears and solve this problem? And so it's super challenging, but really fun to solve those different problems. And I think so far that's, one of my favorite things of working with you guys. Did I do it?
Did I?
Right?
I didn't.
Yeah,
I didn't say anything.
Brian's in the background like.
just like listening.
He's fine. Just like beads of sweat. Just like.
Anyone else want to piggyback off of that one?
Yeah.
Mushk, Jana, Imogene.
For me, it's been a year here. Oh, sorry.
Sorry, go ahead.
It's like the second time I'm cutting sounds. Sorry. I've just been here for 1 year. Yeah, it's the same thing, basically what Naomi said. And other than the work, which is amazing, the coworkers are amazing. Like, I've been working in games, and it's been like here and there, but over here, like the first day I started, and I was super nervous, and I couldn't even talk properly, and I was basically just following Jana around and telling her that she's my comfort zone here. And she's like, no, it's fine, like everyone's really nice. And then as I started talking to everyone, I was just like, hey, can you pinch me? And she's like, what's wrong with you? And she's like, I'm like, is this real? So it's just very pleasant to have like all these amazing artists, which are like super humble, and I feel like I've seen that in games, but just very, very rarely.
Yeah, I felt exactly the same, because you mentioned that, you know, you were like this, but I felt like this too. And kind of going back to the question before, you know, like the first week at Marvel Studios, I was almost like angry again at my old job that I left like 8 years before that. And I just realized for the first time, it can be actually this nice. It doesn't have to be like this weird place where everybody who leaves needs therapy afterwards, you know. Like it can actually be positive and non-toxic, you know. And just to have this experience, like before I used to be freelancer, and I thought, I don't want to work with people anymore. I'm just gonna be freelance forever, you know. I can just be at home and stuff. But before the pandemic hit, of course, just being at a place working with people who are really positive and inspiring and empowering, you know, because starting there I was like, you know, the only female who was actually working in-house as an artist, so it was a bit intimidating, but everybody was just really supportive, and it couldn't have been better. And I still love it, and I hope we can all go back to the office one day.
I can't. Am I the longest person here
Probably.
that's worked at Marvel? Yeah, I've been in it for like 4 or 5 years on and off, I think. And for me, it's always been like from home. So but I feel like a cool secret agent. Like I get my video talks with like, you know, Ryan or Andy or the people that I'm working with. I get my assignment, I drop it off, you know, it self-destructs after I send it, you know. And overall, I think so many of you have mentioned, like it's just even from afar, it's a very supportive team. It's a very humble team. It's a team that gets excited for like art. Like we're all like, oh man, did you see this? Is so cool. Oh yeah, heck yeah. Oh, look at that. Someone did this and we all get really excited about it. And personally, like working on these concepts it's wild too, because then you get to see them on like this big screen or like on billboards, and you're like, oh, I did that. Whoa, that's weird, crazy, and it's like a whole. It's exciting to be a part of a process where it's like you get to design the very early stages and then see how like whole teams of people get together to make it look as best as it can. It's cool.
Imogene?
Well, for me, it's the first time I've actually been in sort of a studio environment, because before I was going from project to project on productions in the costume department. So there was definitely an instability where I could be on something for either a week or 8 months, and I wouldn't really know until it's over. So it's been nice working at Marvel because it is more of a stable environment in terms of job security, more or less. And even if they don't have projects, once they know you and have worked with you, you'll eventually get called back at some point. So it's really I'm very thankful to now sort of be in the loop with them.
Well, just one last question for everyone before we hop over to the Q&A. Jana, do you have any advice to share?
Yeah, I think it's kind of, I mean, I thought about this question before, but it's kind of, I realized, similar to what Karla had to say earlier. I think it's really important to know, especially for women who want to start in this industry, to realize that they're not any less than that. You can still do anything that a guy can do, you know, just because you feel, you know, there's so much other guys working in the industry. I remember when, you know, when I was a teenager and I would go on places like conceptart.org, you know, and they would have this little gallery on top, you know, with artists who were highlighted, and most of them were guys, you know, and you can't help to kind of feel like maybe it's something that I can do, you know, because you just feel like it's so dominated by guys, this industry, right? But this is totally, you know, you just try to get this mindset out of your head, because there's a lot of there's more and more females in the industry. It's also great to see, for instance, just going to workshops throughout the years, you know, I can really see that there's more and more women attending workshops and being interested in entertainment art and concept art and design, and it's just great to see. And please never feel discouraged and think that you can't do something just because you're a woman, because it's not true. You can maybe even better, you know. Yeah, you got this.
Absolutely. Thank you. Anybody want to go next? Naomi?
Sure. Maybe, you know, like Jana said, believe in yourself. You can do this. And if you find yourself in a situation where something feels like really off in your gut, you know, revisit that feeling. Maybe that job or that workspace might not be the right fit if it is kind of really eating at you. And try to have a good support system too, you know, like other friends in the industry, people you feel comfortable just, you know, talking crap or whatever, or the good stuff, you know, trading secrets and all that. Yeah, make sure you have other people to talk to, and you know, trust your gut. Don't ignore it and feel like this is just how it's supposed to be. So
I think also if you're at a place and if anyone tells you that you can do certain thing, like that's like a big red flag. Like you don't want to be there. You want, like Naomi said, you want to have a support system, and you want to make sure that your coworkers in that place are someone, like those people that are also supporting you. It's really important for your mental sanity to stay at a place.
And to jump further on that, it's also not about the outside pressures. It's also a lot about the internal pressures. Like I can tell you by experience how, and by myself and my own experience as an artist, how debilitating your own mental, you know, perception of your own work can be, and how much it can hold you back if you look at your work and look at other people's work and all you think is, why can't I do this, why I'm not good, that doesn't help you as an artist evolve into what you need to do. I think a better way to think about it is, you know, how can I improve? You know, take the, you know, kind of separate yourself, and, you know, do not let your art define who you are as a person, or like your value as a person. It's very separate. Art is just a visual puzzle to solve. So rather than fall into the rabbit hole of I can't, I couldn't, I'll never, just step back and think, wait, no, let me fix this art puzzle. What am I missing? Is it knowledge? Is it practice? And go for it.
Yeah, I think also like take advantage of the advantages of the modern life. Like when I was a girl, if I want to learn drawing, I had to go to an institute. Now you have tutorials on the internet, or I had to buy books that many times were not easy to get, or I could not have like reference of clothes, textures, physical structures. And now like it's so easy to access like fundamentals of drawing, like on YouTube, or I don't know, in so many places. You can talk to your favorite artist and ask them for advice, even if they are in another country. So I guess my advice will be that, like with so many possibilities, like don't get lost, like stay focused, think what inspires you, what do you like to do, and then like learn how to get there. Like take the advantage of the available tools, but keep the focus. I think that's my advice.
The only thing I think I can add to that is to, because you all basically said all the wonderful things, but is to make sure to keep a work-life balance. As artists, especially, or I'll speak for myself, fall victim to just having work take over everything, and we're basically painting ourselves into ditches, to the point where we forget about taking care of ourselves. So yeah, making sure you have that rock solid skincare regimen, breathing, meditating, exercising. Like, I'm not even one to talk. I didn't do my workout today. But it is important. Sleeping, feeding yourself well, just taking care, because I guess as an artist, like, we're the tool, and it needs to function well.
Yeah.
Rachel keeps me accountable with showering. That's my problem. Like, I'm a first-time mom, and so it's like once a week I'm good. But yes, no, having that group of people to keep you accountable to make sure that you are functioning. We got some really good questions in the Q&A. Unfortunately, we haven't used this platform before, and we have a counter going down. So I don't know if we have a hard out at 60 minutes. I just want to apologize in advance if that's the case. So we have a question from Toby in the chat about intersectionality. Obviously, a lot of you are women of color. Do you find that impacts you just in terms of from a representation standpoint? Like, how important is it to make sure that there's other people in the industry that, are representing you on both sides? Can you speak to representation at all for Toby?
Anybody? All right.
I was like, it's gonna be you, Karla.
God damn. It's weird because I don't consider myself American because I grew up in Puerto Rico, and culturally it's so wildly different from growing up in America, like being Latina in this industry. It's an interesting thing. There's just different like cultural things that you have to learn when working with people, but also just like the stories that are told and the concepts and the visuals that are shared when you have a very like homogenous, is that the correct word, homogenous, when you have a very homogenous group, sometimes they'll paint things or tell stories that are solely from their perspective. And one of the values I think that I really love about places that are more diverse is that you also have diverse of thought, diverse of stories, diverse of visuals, and you are able to tell a more human story, like something that reflects more the perception of all of us together, rather than just like someone who just like has different life experiences. um I always can tell, and it's really weird because, like, for example, this isn't necessarily to art, but like lately I've been reading a lot of books from women of color, especially sci-fi or fantasy, and you can tell the difference. You feel it, like, as opposed to like like the books from like typical white dude sci-fi author, and there's nothing wrong with that, but there's just a wealth of like lived experiences that just aren't there otherwise. And I think with especially a place like America, as we get more as minorities start growing in numbers and we have a more diverse culture as a whole, I think it's really important to have people in all places in the chain, top of the food chain, middle of the food chain, bottom, just to represent all the different perspectives that exist. I think it's important.
Thank you for answering that. And also, she's a Black concept artist, so I recommend checking up with 9B Collective because they are a collection of BIPOC artists, and they're going to start doing monthly events. And last question.
Really quickly, sorry, to add on to that, because that is important. There aren't many Hispanic Puerto Ricans in my industry, and whether you're like, you know, Asian, Black, Hispanic, or any, you know, like if whenever you can find community within these spaces, that can also be really helpful because like you're able to just kind of make sense of the space around you and also as a community advocate for better treatment and help like, you know, advocate for better treatment and maybe, you know, just for people to understand where you're coming from better. So yeah.
Absolutely.
Sorry.
No, you're good. Well, ladies, I just wanted to thank you so much for being here with us tonight. We loved hearing from you. We have a lot of questions in the Q&A, and what I might do is I might just message them to you. And if you want it, we'll put them on our Insta story if you feel like responding to any of them. But just thank you so much for your time. It's so exciting to be able to celebrate you. And Jana, we were so excited when you got hired. Like, there's a woman thing coming into all the events. So we're very happy that there's obviously more women at Marvel and in the industry at large. Rachel, do you have any other things in closing?
No, just thank you for everyone for spending that evening with us, and especially Amelia because very late where she is. Thank you so much. Yeah. So
I'm so honored to be here. Thank you for having me.
of course.
Yeah, thank you for having us. This was awesome.
Yeah, it was
Thanks to
fun.
everybody for
Thank
coming.
you.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, good night, guys.
Okay.
Cutie. Okay.
Future biz dev artist.
Yes, she has grown. Oh my goodness.
Are you gonna work for Marvel by then? No? Okay.
That's fair. Are we? Is it over or did we just?
Is
do
it still? Yeah. Is it still?
Actually, I don't apparently know how to end go to meet. So that's how we're gonna.
Are we stuck in limbo?
Like, I don't know what to do.
I'm glad no one farted.